Blake Lively's career might be over, and not because of a smear campaign. Because of what Sony executives said about her in private, because of what her own talent agent admitted in a deposition, and because of texts she wrote with her own hands. Ryan Reynolds isn't far behind, and the evidence is all on the record now. Blake's talent agent Warren Zavala was asked if she was getting any new offers after the movie made a killing at the box office. His response? The phone wasn't ringing. Not even a courtesy will circle back. Absolute radio silence. $350 million is what It Ends With Us made. That's the kind of number that usually makes studios forget you sacrificed a goat in the parking lot. But somehow, not a sound. Not a whisper of momentum, just the dull echo of a career flatlining in real time. I'm a nurse by trade, and in my world, mistakes have names and families. One bad call can end a career, and even then, all of your previous wins don't erase failure. So watching a hit movie fail to save a reputation feels familiar. I've seen everything go right on paper and still lose the patient. The film lived, the money came in, the audience showed up, and the career still ended up in the morgue with a funeral date scheduled for mid-May. If you're Blake, I imagine this feels like sabotage. You just delivered the biggest win of your career and still ended up blacklisted. So yeah, when she yells smear campaign, I get it. From her penthouse view, someone must have poisoned the well. Someone had to have made those calls, and she's not wrong. Calls were made, just not to her. Because here's the thing. Hollywood doesn't wait for a hashtag to cancel you. It doesn't need a trending topic to form an opinion. It's a tiny town in designer drag, and gossip spreads faster than Botox at a daytime Emmy party. The verdict on Blake? That was already whispered, passed, and filed away before a single headline dropped. While Blake was still editing her cut, Sony executives were calling her a terrorist, not as a joke, as a description. Andrea Giannetti, an executive vice president at Sony, admitted under oath that she called Blake a effing terrorist. The context? Blake threatened to walk off a $28 million production unless her 17-point list of demands was signed without revision. The movie was unreleasable without her, and she knew it. That's not negotiation, that's a hostage situation. Sanford Panitch, president of Sony's Motion Picture Group, also called her a terrorist, called her hair care launch during the premiere epic-level stupid, said she wouldn't listen, then wrote the sentence that should be carved into her career's tombstone. She has a huge hit movie headed to $300 million plus and probably will never work again. This wasn't spin. This was a studio president writing privately concluding that Blake Lively had ended herself. The so-called smear campaign didn't kill her career. The calls had already been made. Every executive in town had already had the conversation. You thinking about working with Blake Lively?
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no!
Absolutely not. Did you hear what happened? That exchange probably happened dozens of times before the public knew anything was wrong. Then there's the text. August 2023. Blake writes about wanting access to the edit. His entire sales pitch is how collaborative he is and how much he values women. Yet they're not going to allow me to see the movie? Then adds, I'm not going to engage with the film if this is the way they play it. Blake's side maintained she never threatened to withhold promotion, but there it is. Her words, her timestamp. Sony executives testified under oath she threatened exactly that. And look how she framed it. She weaponized Justin's words about valuing women to demand things she had no right to. That's not feminism. That's extortion in a floral dress. Now here's what's been bothering me. When you look at texts from during production, the picture doesn't match the depositions. Isabella Ferrer texted Baldoni that he created such a comfortable, safe space for her. That's gratitude. That's warmth. But then comes the deposition. Suddenly, she testifies Baldoni made an inappropriate comment about her teenage character, saying, I'm not supposed to say this. But that was hot. Suddenly, the comfortable, safe space becomes something else. Here's what's interesting. Ferrer and Blake were never on set together. Their scenes were filmed separately. But somewhere between that text and the deposition, they became inseparable best friends, even having sleepovers. And then all of a sudden, Ferrer's memory pulls something that supports Blake's case. I've had friendships change my perspective when I was younger. I once had a roommate convince me a restaurant I loved was terrible. Now I can't eat there without hearing her voice criticizing the bread. Memory is soft, and it can take the shape of whoever's holding it. Same pattern with Jenny Slate. Her strongest anti-Baldoni texts came after conversations with Blake. Blake and I have both complained directly to Ange at Sony. Filtered through Blake. Coordinated with Blake. Slate called Baldoni the most intense narcissist and the biggest clown. Words that sound rehearsed. Words that sound like someone else's vocabulary. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not accusing anyone of witness tampering. But in my opinion, this feels coaxed. It feels like someone sat down with their dog and said,
"Remember when he said this? You found that creepy, didn't you? You're such a good girl."
And suddenly memories sharpen. Suddenly comfortable safe spaces become hostile environments. Suddenly, comments that didn't warrant HR become sexual harassment in hindsight. Sony's own Giannetti testified that when Slate complained about Baldoni saying she looked hot, she didn't think it needed HR, but now it's evidence. I'm not saying these women are lying, I'm saying memory is Play-Doh. And when someone with Blake's power starts shaping the narrative, starts hosting sleepovers with potential witnesses, recollections adjust. That's my opinion, based on watching texts say one thing and depositions say another. And then there's Ryan. Ryan Reynolds spent years perfecting the role of Hollywood's golden retriever, the charming, self-aware jokester, the husband who worships his wife, the guy who roasts himself just enough to seem humble while cashing million-dollar checks. It's one of the most carefully curated personas in the business. And it worked. It made him beloved. It made him rich. And for a while, it made him untouchable. Well, that was until the texts leaked. The unsealed messages show Ryan texting his agent about Justin Baldoni, and what's in them isn't protective. It's petty. His agent calls Baldoni an egotistical shitweasel with a god complex. Ryan follows up by calling him a human rounding error. That's not concern. That's not support. That's a man so used to being above consequences that he didn't even flinch before hitting send. No caution or second thought. Just raw contempt typed out with the smug confidence of someone who's never had to clean up his own mess. Well, Ryan, welcome to consequences. Here's what kills me. In those texts, Ryan's agent brings up Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Asks how that played out. The answer? Not well. Cratered both of them ultimately. They knew. They looked at a situation that destroyed 2 careers and said, yes, this is the playbook. Coordinated unfollows, cast isolation, strategic leaks. I've made bad decisions knowing they were bad. I once dated someone who didn't believe in refrigeration, but I've never looked at a career murder-suicide and thought, that's the template. That takes arrogance built brick by brick over years of never being told no. The fallout is visible. Paramount dropped 3 Ryan Reynolds projects. His first look deal runs through 2026, meaning the studio has to hear his pitches. They just don't have to make them. That's keeping someone on payroll while removing their desk. Insiders are finally saying what they've whispered for years. People think Ryan is the funny guy from the commercials. But behind closed doors, he switches. There's Hollywood Ryan, and then there's the Ryan only insiders meet. The mask didn't slip. It got unsealed by a federal court. Can they recover? Blake is done. She wasn't getting offers after $350 million. Multiple Sony executives called her a terrorist. Her agent confirmed the phone was dead. The survival list has no updates. That's not a movie in development, and let's face it, it probably won't be. Who would hire her now? Every executive has seen the lawsuit, the threats in writing, the way witnesses' memories shift after spending time with her. Why become the next target? Ryan might survive. He has Deadpool. He has Wrexham. But survival isn't thriving. It's smaller projects, fewer starring roles, a slow fade until people forget why they were angry. The cruelest part is they did this to themselves. No one forced Blake to threaten a $28 million production. No one forced Ryan to text like a man who thought he was untraceable. They bet on their own invincibility, and I believe they lost. The trial starts in May, but in my opinion, the verdict already landed. From the executives who stopped calling, from the studio's shelving projects, from the public who finally saw behind the curtain. Blake wanted the world to believe she was destroyed by a smear campaign. Turns out she was destroyed by a mirror, and Ryan's learning that 20 years of charm can't outrun 20 pages of texts. At this point, the story isn't being argued. It's being read. But
That's my opinion!